Hi everyone, for those rejoining us, welcome back. And for any of you listening for the first time, I am Millie McIntosh and I'm here with one of my ride or die best friends, Charlie.
That's me. So hi everyone. As you probably know by now, I'm Charlie Bowd. I'm the founder of Rumble Tums and we are delighted to have you back on Mumlemmas and More, where, as you know, we talk a lot about anything and everything. Nothing is off limits.
Welcome back to season 3 of Mumlemmas and More.
We've got so much to catch up on. We've got all our Christmases and all the funny stories since we last spoke. We've got some really great topics to get into with guests as well.
Okay, before we start though, we need to give a big shout out and say thank you to this season's sponsor, my favourite kombucha brand, Remedy.
Yeah, it's quickly becoming my new obsession as well. So thank you for that.
I know, I had to literally hide my favourite flavours because Hugo is always stealing them from the fridge. It's so delicious, naturally sugar-free, low calorie, and it's good for your gut health.
And we're kicking off season 3 with an unbelievable giveaway later in the episode. So please keep listening and be in with a chance to win.
Okay, right. So back to what you can expect from season 3. We've lined up some brilliant guests, including broadcaster and journalist Ate Jewel, and our old friend and Saturn Returns podcast host, Kaggy Dunlop.
Yeah, can't wait for those. We'll also be chatting to some fascinating experts like nutritionist Dr. Simone Laubscher and sexologist, I know everyone loved our sex episode last season, Emily Lavinia. Not to be missed, guys. But for today, we thought we'd catch up on all our news since Christmas and all that time in between that we've had. We've talked about it ourselves, but we want to share it with you guys. There's been a lot going on, lots of toddler tantrums and everything in between. So let's get going. Millie, let's start with you.
Oh my God, yeah. Christmas with 2 kids.
Christmas with 2 kids. How was it?
I mean, we were obviously, the year before I did have 2 kids, but like the baby was like a few weeks old. So this year I've got a toddler and a 2-year-old. Well, they were kind of like both toddling around. It was intense. It was exhausting. Like I needed a holiday afterwards and we weren't even hosting.
Oh, so you weren't hosting?
We weren't hosting, which was so nice, but we had a great time. Don't get me wrong. It was just like a lot. We did a road trip with the kids and like the kind of domestics already had started like in the build up because I was like planning everything we needed to bring and Hugo was like, you're not going to fit it in the car, and he was getting super stressed.
You love a suitcase.
But like packing when you're like packing for the whole family, it's quite stressful. Do you find that? You had a Mini for ages. I honestly don't know how you'd fit everything in that car.
A Mini. I like refuse to get rid of it and be one of those people that like sizes up into a big car. Yeah, we've still got our Mini, but it is like ridiculous. It literally is like Mr. Bean with like
it's
all the stuff like
Tetris. I was like, we're going to need to get like a roof rack, we're going to need to get like a trailer, and it was causing so many arguments. We actually ended up like borrowing a car.
So yeah, we also had like some quite funny moments like over that period, like, you know, just having the whole full shebang. And we actually stayed with 2 friends that had just moved into their house, and you know, everything was new and new carpets and new white, everything was white, and you know, obviously not kid friendly. And our even though they have kids, it's just, you know, I think they'd done their spare room all beautifully, and you know, we were like one of the first guests to stay, and we had 2 instances in 2 separate houses where so my baby Scarly, she's obviously still wearing a nappy. But I think she's at that age now where you're meant to like put them in pull-ups, and we still had her in those ones that, you know, have the flaps.
They can undo it.
And over this period, and basically her nappy just kept falling off. So we had 2 instances. One where I just looked up and she was walking across this white carpet, basically naked. And she basically sat on the floor. And I was like, oh my God, on this white carpet in someone else's house. And, you know, I think as a mum, like I panicked and I was like, oh my God, thinking 10 steps ahead, like First step, I'm going to have to get a carpet cleaner. Second step, maybe I have to buy them a new carpet for this room. Third step, my worrying brain, maybe I'm going to have to recarpet the whole house.
And was it? It wasn't a rug. It was like the actual like fixed carpet.
Oh, it was the actual carpet. They still don't know. They might now know. Sorry, by the way. But I think because of the like a mum's worry, if I had dealt with it, it just would have, it would have been a disaster. But Johnny, my husband Johnny saw it, and I think it's just a bloke's way. He like credit carded it. He like credit carded the shit off the carpet
straight away.
Clean sweep. It was gone. So that was our first one.
Didn't even make a mark.
Nothing. So I was like, okay,
good work, Johnny. We're trying that one.
It worked. So should we get into our Mumlemmas for the season? Yeah. For this episode.
I'm really excited about this one.
I'm really excited about this one. We've got so much to talk about.
So our first Mumlemma, I think it's actually quite a hidden one that maybe doesn't actually get said out loud that lot. I think it's a conversation that a lot of people have like internally in their heads, or maybe with their very like closest friends, but not so much openly.
I agree.
And it's like how to decide whether to have a third child.
Totally.
Obviously, lots of families choose to stick with one child, but according to research, 43% go for two.
43%? Yeah. Gosh, so that's basically the majority of people. I think
the,
that's the biggest.
It's like that feeling of like wanting a sibling for your first child.
Yeah, yeah. So most people have two, basically. So this is quite
nearly
relevant.
Half.
Yeah, quite relevant.
Then, obviously, then there are the people that have multiple, have like bigger families, have like 3, 4, 5 children. But for me, it's like the decision to go from 2 to 3 does feel huge, because it really changes the dynamic. Yeah. And, even just like down to the practical stuff, like you need a bigger car, or
totally.
do you need an extra bedroom? Because 2 children can easily share a bedroom, but then do you need like another, you need like more space in your house. So it really affects like your family life. And like, it's just that suddenly you've got more children than you've got adults.
Yeah, so it's basically like a head versus heart dilemma, isn't it? And you kind of have to make a decision with all the experience of having 2 kids already and all the practicalities that go into that. But also, I think as women, we're in our fertility period, right? And I think it's like nature kind of screaming out at you wanting to have more
like, if
kids.
you're going to do it, you can't wait another 10 years to decide.
No, I mean, I definitely can't. I'm older than you. And so, you have to consider that. It's like your biological clock. And I think maybe kind of getting to the end of your fertility period, it's like really gears up, I think.
The pressure to decide if you're going to do it or not.
Pressure, but also the pressure definitely in your own mind. But also I think maybe your hormones, maybe there's something there that, that just your body kind of goes into overdrive, and it's like last chance saloon, like, come on.
Yeah.
If you're going to do it, it's got to be now. And it really, it really does gear up, I think.
I feel like we talk about this every time we see each other.
We do.
And I feel like we always we change our minds quite frequently. So one of us will be like, we're always like, are you going to do it? But do you want to start first?
No, I think you should start. I want to know what you think about it, where you're at, what's on your mind about it.
So we've both got 2 kids.
Yeah.
Yours are a little bit older than mine. And I always thought I'd just have 2 kids. And I really can't make up my mind. Part of me, now I've got to, it's like, it's so intense. And part of me is like, I definitely don't want another one, like, to add to the mix. It's just quite stressful. Like they're both still in nappies. Like they're still really young. Like Sienna's not even 3 yet. So having another one would be complete madness. But there is a part of me that's also like desperate for another baby. I think because Aurelia's walking and she doesn't, it's like my baby doesn't feel like a baby anymore. I mean, she is still a baby. She's nearly 16 months. So she's still a baby in some ways, but in others, she's really not. Like, especially the walking thing really when they start toddling around is when they stop feeling like a baby. But then I just have to think, is it just natural? Like, it's a natural thing, I think, with like your hormones as well, that you want more children. It doesn't mean you should just do it because you like have the thought.
Totally.
And then I try and like weigh up all the pros and cons. Firstly, Hugo doesn't want another one.
Does
just
he
putting that out
he
there.
Not? Does he? Is he a hard
Having
no?
a partner that also wants the same thing as you.
Yes, kind of a vital component.
Well, they're like pretty involved in the making of the child. So the fact that he's like definitely not. But then a couple of times, maybe about 3 times, he's been like, oh, actually, maybe. And so he's like planted a seed.
I actually didn't know that.
Yeah.
Last time we spoke, he was a hard no.
And they have like 3 sons and a daughter. And he just gets on so well with the boys. And there was just a moment where he was like, maybe like it would be amazing to have a boy, but like we wouldn't do gender selection, so you don't know.
That's interesting actually, because of the gender thing.
And we're more likely to have a girl because if you've already had two the same gender, you're statistically more likely to have another one
right,
the same gender. So, and you can try and do weird things like only try to like have sex on like certain days of your cycle and eat certain foods to try and sway which way the gender goes, but you don't know.
No, you don't. So
we can't. So that's too much of a risk to just like wait and see what happens. Basically, I think I should just get a dog, babe.
You know what having a dog is like having a third child.
If I've got this feeling of like, you know, should we have another one? But I'm scared of doing it and then being like it's too much and it being the thing that just like tips me over the edge of just like not being able to cope.
Yes, totally. I think if there's a slight, you know, we always say this. I think some people have one kid.
If it's not a hard no.
It's not a hard no. Yeah. There's a crack of light. There's a little tiny door open where you're probably likely to do it. You know, I think if it's not a no way, I can't, I'm done, then.
But Hugo is like overall, he is still like no way.
Yes.
That's kind of where I'm at.
Yeah. I feel exactly the same. When I went, you know, before I had kids, I loved my life as it was. I had this career and I loved going out and I had this life that I loved. And when I got pregnant, I was like, how's that? I didn't know. I had no benchmark. I was like, how am I going to feel? And the second that baby comes into your life, right? I love them. And I can't believe, my life's so different and, how much they add to my life and how much they've made me into the person I always wanted to be and how much they give you purpose, right? And I was quite shocked by it. I have to say, I was like, wow, that is like a huge life moment. And, and I then was thinking, maybe that's your first child. Maybe that's what happens with just one child. And I remember like crying the night before, Scarly was born, thinking, oh God, how am I ever going to love another baby as much as I love you? Like I love you so much, that feeling. And then they come along and instead of like your heart splitting in half, it like doubles in size, right? And I was like, oh my gosh, I just love these humans like so much, watching them grow. It's the best thing I've ever done in my life. So I'm like, why just have two? Like, why not just, if you can, why not just like have that feeling like over and over and over again? And,
get it.
Right? And so even though, yes, as you say, there are like pros and cons, like I haven't thrown all my newborn stuff away.
You're making me want another one.
Yeah, right?
Everything you're saying, I'm like, yes, you're literally making my ovaries hurt.
Literally, but that's how I feel. I'm like, it's the best thing I've ever done. And I'm like, they're just,
the best and hardest.
The best and hardest. And like, yes, there are all those moments where you're like, oh my gosh, when you're knackered and you're like, I haven't slept in months and, my eyes are black and bleeding and there are all those things, but you easily forget them. So, it's really hard. But yes, I haven't thrown my newborn stuff away and I'm just like, I can't do it. I'm like, no, but I'll need it. I'll need it for the next one.
Babe, you've got the newborn stuff.
Right?
And Johnny wants another one, right?
He desperately wants another one.
So I think you will, because if Hugo wanted another one, I'd probably be pregnant now, babe.
Do you think you would?
Yeah.
Do you?
Yeah.
Obviously you do.
Crazy as that sounds.
Yes. But that's it. But then it's really hard for the beginning bit, right? And then, and then it does get easier over time.
But in another 2 or 3 years, I might have stopped feeling like that. I don't know. I know we've got friends that have got 3 kids that are like, oh my God. And they've suddenly been like, whoa, what have I done? Because then suddenly the older child that they'd had no problems with goes into like, could be going through issues at school or like, you don't know, like.
That's so true.
It might have been quite smooth sailing. So you thought, why not have another one? And then suddenly these like, something might pop up and that then needs extra energy and attention. And you just don't know what's going to happen. It's hard. You literally cannot predict. So there's a lot to consider.
What do you think the balance is? What do you think, like, if, people that are one of 3, like we're one of 2.
Yeah.
So, yes, we actually don't have that experience. But like, I wonder if there is a difference between if you have 1 kid or 2 kid or 3 kids, what they end up, being like. I'd be really interested.
Yeah, because I'm a first child and that's definitely, it does really shape your personality.
Do you think? In what way?
And people always say like middle children. I think like the 3rd child has to be super loud, right? Just to like get noticed.
So true.
They're just going to get left in the corner.
They always say like, I saw this thing on Instagram, which was like first child. And it's like, dressed in like a frilly shirt and like hair scraped to the side. And
everything's new. Everything's new. And you're like literally cleaning the bottles, like sterilizing them within an inch of their life. By the time it's the 3rd one, you're literally just like, let it drop on the floor. The dog licks it. You're like, oh. I'm just really curious to know, how do people come to this decision?
Yeah, it's hard.
Like as a family, like it's a big one.
It's a big one, unless it happens by accident.
And of course, what if you have twins?
Exactly. It's a possibility.
Well, depending on how you're getting pregnant, if you're using IVF, there is a high chance that it could happen,
which lots of people do nowadays.
I would love to have a guest on at some point who has like 3 or more kids, so we can actually ask them about it.
Me too.
I know someone with twins would be really fascinating as well,
because we actually don't know, so I'm sure they'd have a totally different perspective to us.
Okay, I really hope you found us talking about this topic helpful. I think it's really important to have these conversations. And if you did, then please, can you pull out your phone, follow the show, rate and review. It really does help other listeners to find us.
So, Mumlemmas 2, I wanted to talk about kids' birthday parties. So I've just had one. You have had one. I've been to one of yours.
Yeah, I've had a couple.
You've had a couple. So I just wanted to talk about this because it's like a whole new world. And I feel like from like 0 until I'd say 4 or 5, you kind of do it for yourself, don't you? A bit.
Yeah.
So very different to what I have just experienced when Orlando, so he was 5. So he's now at school. So it's the first birthday party he has had being at school. And so
does it really change it?
It totally changes it. So he was like, firstly, he's at that age where he kind of wants, like an entertainer or something. He's like opinionated about what he wants. Usually it's just
What
me.
did he ask for?
He just wanted some sort of entertainment. He's been to loads of birthday parties for school kids now. And, some of them are like amazing.
Really?
Do you know what I mean?
People go all out.
Yeah, they really go all out. Or they'll just shove them all into like a soft play, but the kids are entertained, so there's like all these benchmarks.
So it's basically as they get older, you need to entertain them.
That's it.
And does he want like a theme? Because Sienna's at the age of like, princesses and Frozen. So like that kind of will determine the party that we have.
It did kind of make it really different. So I kind of felt a bit of the pressure, and I decided to do it at home because I was like, rather than do it in a soft play and you don't really get to talk to anyone, I'll just do it at home. And
but then your house gets trashed, babe.
Right.
That's
and so
my fear.
I've got a small house. So I was thinking like, how do he wants all his school friends there.
And it's pristine and perfect normally. It's like beautifully done. But if I
like
go over it, like, this is a show home.
You're like, are you okay? Do you actually live here? But it's small, and he wanted all his friends there. So I was thinking, God, how do I do this? Like, I obviously want my friends there, and selfishly, I want like the godparents there, but I just can't fit anyone else in. So I saw this episode on Motherland where they do drop off, and I was like, oh, that's wicked. Like, what a great idea.
So the kids come and the parents the parents don't stick about.
Yes. So I was like, perfect, that's what I'll do. So I like text my friends being like, guys, come over, and text all the other parents of the friends he wanted.
Do you have to invite the whole class?
Well, see, I didn't. See, you are meant to do this.
Because how many are in the class? Like 30 of them?
Right, exactly.
That's
like
crazy.
Loads of kids. So it's a bit of a like there's an etiquette to it. I definitely did it wrong. We'll do it very differently next time. But yeah, so I text like, a handful of his best friends from school. But I said it was drop off. And anyway, so I didn't really think about the consequence of actually when the party started, there were loads of people in the house, and then all these parents were coming and dropping off their kids. And I didn't also think that they were like 3, 4, 5, too young to do this drop-off thing.
They're a bit too young. They're probably all like crying.
Yeah, and they were like, Mommy, I don't want to go in on my own. And also then all the parents were like seeing loads of other people in there, and it was like kind of awkward.
Because they were like, why can't we stay?
Yeah,
there's other adults.
They were like, oh, but you said it was drop-off. And I was like, oh my God, I literally didn't think this through. So it was like totally awkward, and being like British and awkward as I am, I like flew out of my body and was like, oh, come in, just come in, of course,
so
no
then
worries.
It didn't end up being a drop-off
So obviously
situation.
Then it was like packed with people that I kind of didn't know, and I was like, oh God, this is like not what I thought it would be. Didn't speak to anyone that I actually knew. So then I was like manically ordering off Zap like extra Prosecco for all the mums. And anyway, so I was like going around just like chatting bollocks to like all these people. And then prior to this, so Orlando had said he wanted an entertainer, and I had never booked an entertainer, never done that, never gone down that road. So in my head, I thought an entertainer, babe, was like someone that comes over and like reads a story or like, you know, kind of does a dance. I actually don't know. It sounds ridiculous now, but that's kind of what I thought would happen. So I kind of split my house up into 3 areas. So I did like the kids eating area. In the middle was like the entertaining section. And at the end, it's like all open plan, by the way. So at the end was like all the adults were there, just have a lovely time. Having a mingle and chatting. So anyway, couldn't find an entertainer for love nor money. So the day before I Googled kids entertainer, thought they were all the same. And anyway, found someone last minute and they was like, yeah, absolutely. I'll come. Anyway, so this knock at the door, like as everyone was there. And it's like, boo, 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 boo. And I opened the door and he was in this bright yellow t-shirt saying entertainers are us or something on the front. And he had this like big wheelie bag behind him, like a massive stereo and like microphone kit. And I was like, oh God, what's the act? And anyway, he comes in and he sets up all his stuff. And anyway, so everyone's chatting away, having a lovely time. And then all the lights go off. And he basically was like, boo, boo, and starts this like,
well, like beatboxing.
Yeah, like basically like, turns all the lights off. Suddenly there's like this disco and it's so loud. And he basically played like Mambo number 5, like, this is Mambo number 5, like so loud. And suddenly everyone was like, oh my God, this is actually quite jarring. This is awful.
Were the kids into it?
Yeah, the kids obviously loved it. But honestly, all the parents and like, I have my like, you know, my kids' grandparents there and they're older. And honestly, they were like, what is going on? It was like so loud, like it was like in your bones. Anyway, so I was like, God, this is like, this is awkward. This is like not the kind of party I thought it would be. I thought they'd be doing ballet over there in the corner. So I was like, excuse me, sorry, like, do you mind? Can you just like not use the microphone? Can you just like turn it down a notch? And he was like, sorry, this is my act. Like, you're going to try and tell me how to do my own act. And I was like, oh God, okay, right. So we're just going to have to sit. So we basically had to sit and watch everyone just in silence, watching this guy beatbox basically in the dark for an hour. And then as soon as it was over, thank God it finished eventually. It felt like a lifetime. Everyone just was like, bye, see you later, left. So yeah, next time learning, you know, book an entertainer that is quiet.
So Sienna's, I've got a funny memory of 2 things that went a bit wrong on Sienna's birthday, both cake related. So I'd ordered this amazing cake from a company I've used lots of times for like my baby shower, like lots of different things, whenever it's like a special occasion. And they make the most amazing cakes. On this day, like the cake arrived like an hour before, it looked perfect. But when we cut into it, it was like frozen still in the middle. So obviously they'd like pre-made it and like frozen it. And that's fine, I don't really care, but obviously they hadn't taken it out of the freezer early enough. So it was like a bit frozen in the middle. And also it was kind of cake, to be honest, that was a bit of a selfish order because it was a cake that like me and my husband love. It's like this like pistachio layered cake.
Never forget it.
It looks kind of like green inside, right? And like the kids just were not into it. They were just like, no. And they didn't want to eat it. Also, when it came to blowing out the candles, Orlando ran over and blew out Sienna's candles before she could. Do you not remember?
I remember.
And then when I was trying to get all like nice pictures, he kept like standing.
Oh no, I remember. He was in all your family photos. Oh God, I blocked that out.
Like he was trying to get to the cake, and I was trying to get this nice photo moment of like Sienna blowing out her candles, and Orlando just ran in and blew them out for her. But that is just like a typical thing. You cannot predict what's going to happen when there's kids around.
It's a framer.
And Sienna, like I took her to a neighbour's child's birthday party, and she was sitting next to him, and I don't know why she did it, but she just picked up her cup of water and poured it all over his plate of food, and he got really upset and like cried for the rest of the party. So I mean, kids, they just seem to really sabotage each other's happiness on birthdays.
What is
Do you
that?
think
I think it's an attention thing.
Yeah,
it's like
when they're not centre of attention, they're like, right, what can I do about this?
Yes.
But I think Sienna obviously does it too. It's just quite overwhelming for them. And we went at that party. There was also a Spider-Man entertainer dressed like this guy dressed up as Spider-Man, and she was terrified of him. I think that's quite often the thing if you do get an entertainer.
Yeah,
the children might actually find them terrifying.
It's actually really hard. You actually have to think that bit through.
Yeah,
which I definitely just didn't even think was a thing. But
yeah, I know. Do I get like someone to pretend to be Elsa?
Oh, I've actually been to one like that. I loved it. I love an Elsa tune.
I want to get Elsa, but I want it to be like a really realistic one.
Yeah, sometimes where they just like plonk the wig on top of their like.
I want someone that actually you believe. Like I want to believe it's Elsa.
I think you should be Elsa. I think you make a great Elsa.
Well, Sienna already made me dress as Elsa for the
You already look
BAFTAs.
like a princess. Exactly.
But no, but I can't sing though. You want someone with a really good singing voice.
That is true. I love
Sienna
you, but
would
that is true.
recognise it was me. Let's be honest.
Imagine if you tried to belt out that tune, everyone would be like, okay, what time can we leave?
Yeah,
Because
no, that would be the way to like empty the party.
have you got any top tips, do you think, for our listeners on how to do a kid's birthday?
Okay, my first one from what I've learned, don't have too high expectations of how you think the day should go.
Oh, so true.
Because then you might be disappointed, but ultimately it's about whether your kids are having fun. And that's like all that actually matters.
100%.
And it probably won't go to plan. And you have to just accept that and not get upset if it doesn't. And don't like order a cake for them, not for you. So the next cake is definitely going to be more like a kids geared towards the kids cake rather than just a cake that I really want to eat.
No green cakes, please.
Yeah, Sienna did not like the green pistachio cake. And make sure it's been taken out of the freezer long enough before. And yeah, maybe try like not giving them loads of sugar. But is that really hard? But can you do like
I don't
like
know.
more healthy snacks? Because I do think it's hard to expect a group of children who are like wired on candy to not kind of go a bit mad.
I think it's impossible to stop the sugar consumption because literally that is what they're there for. And they also go to other kids' parties where that's what it's all about.
All right, don't bother with party bags. Or don't put any choke-sized things in party bags. That really bugs me. You come back from a party and there's like a gobstopper or like a marble that's like the exact size that would get lodged in a child's throat. And you're like, why? Why would you do that? Especially when you've got like another little one. I like lots of people have like a younger baby at home. So
true.
basically just don't put any choke hazard. If you're going to do a party bag, firstly, don't because it's really bad for the environment. But secondly, don't put any choke hazards in the party bags. There we go. I'm done now.
With party bags, I always go over and above because I'm always like, oh, you know, my Instagram head comes into it and
Your
I'm like,
PR brain.
Yeah, my PR brain. And I always forget about it. And they're always left at the end. And I'm like,
you don't have them
the
out.
kids don't like it. Like I actually, and you know, one year I did like a little, you know, sustainable box with like pencils in it. And they were just like, what is this? And they just like
Shouldn't have
crap.
bothered.
They literally like cheap crap. That sounds awful to promote.
But it will end
that
up in landfill.
I know. But that's all kids want. So if there's a like fine, or just don't do them. But what I would say is if they're going to eat sugar and they're going to be mental, which they are, just keep it short. Short and sweet. In and out. You know, have a time on the invite. 3 till 5. That's it. Done.
Okay, so our third and final Mumlemma is quite a big one for me because it's something which has honestly been quite life-changing. I want to talk about my decision to give up booze and you know, just bring it up as a topic of discussion. It's something I've been talking about quite a lot recently, quite openly on Instagram. And I've just had such a great response from people, but this is like the first time I've had a chance to chat to you about it.
Yeah.
Since we started recording again. And I think it is really a really big topic to talk about. And it felt quite scary the first time I actually came out and said it. But now I'm like over 6 months in, I'm feeling much more comfortable talking about it.
Why did it feel scary?
I think it just feels like a bit of a taboo.
Do you think?
Like in our culture, I think it's actually so bizarre to me, but it is a massive thing to say you are choosing to not drink alcohol. People automatically assume you've got a problem
With alcohol?
Yeah, or like you have to. Like it's like this big thing, like, oh, that's a bit awkward. They must have something really wrong with them.
And you know, why did you kind of start this whole journey into like trying to heal your mental health naturally and stopping drinking and things like that? Was there a particular trigger?
Definitely, I feel like I really had this eureka moment, and you hear people talk about like eureka moments, but mine was the worst panic attack I've ever had. It happened at the end of the summer, and I had been drinking the night before, like with dinner with friends. Like it wasn't a really boozy late night, but I'd had a few glasses of wine, and I woke up really early. We were staying on a friend's boat in Turkey, and we weren't with the girls. It was just me and Hugo, and I felt like I couldn't breathe. And previously, like I've had panic attacks on and off, like most of my adult life. But I normally feel them in my stomach. Like I normally get just a really uncomfortable feeling and I feel kind of nauseous. This was completely different. So it felt like my throat was closing up and that I was suffocating. And I literally it was like I could really feel like my throat was was closing up. I woke Hugo up and I was on the floor like hyperventilating. Everything started to go black. I thought I was dying and was literally taking my last breaths and could see
Really?
like
Is that actually how it
I
felt?
literally could see like all I could think about was the girls, and I thought I'm going to die here right now. I'm not going to be able to get off this boat. I'm not like I'm far from a hospital. Like I'm about to die. That was like where I was. Like I literally was like, I think I was blacking out because I wasn't breathing properly because I was hyperventilating. But I actually thought like, this is it. Like, I'm dying like in this moment and I'll never see my children again. And that was like all I could think. And Hugo was amazing. He got me to calm down. He got me to start breathing. And like slowly I like came, like calmed down. And he was like, right, let's get off the boat and go for a hike. And we went for this hike, like just me and him. And we just had this really like long talk. And I just kind of was like, I just think something needs to change. And it was honestly so scary. It just really shook me to my core. And I just thought I can never, ever feel like that again. I can like never put myself through that again. And I was like, I wouldn't have had that panic attack if I hadn't been drinking last night. And if I was at a wedding a few days before this. And I'd drunk too much at that wedding as well. So I think it was definitely a knock-on effect of that as well. Because for me, when alcohol definitely makes me feel anxious for at least a week after kind of a big boozy night. So that was it. And it was the 25th of August. Like, I literally have the date like tattooed in my mind. And yeah, I haven't had a drink since then.
Wow. It's amazing. Well done you, babe.
Thanks, babe. It's like quite emotional talking to you about it because they're just going back to that moment. Like it was, I can't get rid of my anxiety completely. I have to still work on it, and it's something I'm going to have to manage, but through making changes to my lifestyle, like definitely not drinking, making sure I carve out time to exercise, try to meditate, not eat certain things like sugar, I find really triggers me as well.
Really? So this all helps you?
Yeah.
And you've noticed a huge difference?
Huge difference. Stopping drinking has 90% like cured my anxiety. And I listened to this amazing podcast, a Human Labs podcast, and it's all about like what alcohol does to your brain and body. Even by a month in, I was like, I can feel the benefits enough that it like really just like kept motivating me to keep going. Through stopping drinking, it's like now I'm actually able to connect so much better with myself. I actually really like my own company, and I'm able to do the self-work. So I actually like myself a lot more. It's about having that self-worth, self-respect. Honestly, babe, it's like the best decision.
Do you have any other advice for, people in your situation, I guess, other mums or, people our age who, maybe are feeling certain things? Like, what would your advice be?
I would totally just say you can do it. Like, it might seem like a really scary step to take, but 100%, like, you will not regret it. And just always talk to someone about it. I really recommend therapy, which can just really help support you. Just to reach out, try and talk to somebody else that is also taken these steps. I love nothing more than helping people now who message me, like friends that reach out and say, I want to drink less or I want to stop drinking. Please tell me how you do it. Like literally nothing makes me happier.
Are there lots of people that do that?
Yeah, it feels really good.
That's great. Well done, babe.
I feel like I could talk about it all day because I am now this annoying person that just literally wants to go on about how great not drinking is. So to all of our listeners that still enjoy drinking, that is no judgment from me. It is such a personal thing. But for anyone that is listening and is also thinking about maybe ditching the booze, then I literally cannot recommend it enough. And please DM me, please message me. I love hearing from you. You can email us as well. I'll put all of the info at the end of the episode, but I'd love to hear your stories too. So enough of the serious stuff. I've had my cry.
It wouldn't be a complete episode without a laugh or a tear.
I got quite emotional, okay, but we've done the serious stuff. It's time for something completely different. Last season, we did a little Made in Chelsea trivia quiz. So all of our lovely listeners could be in with the chance to win some really great prizes. Everybody loved it. So we're really happy to say that our Are You Toff Enough quiz is back.
Great. For all those new to Mumlemmas, I hate the name. Are You Toff Enough? I always have. Millie loves it.
I chose the name.
You chose the name. What it is we rifle through the archives of MIC to find memorable moments, surprising facts, and iconic one-liners. We then ask you to answer a question to win some amazing giveaways from our partners. Correct answers are put into a winner's draw and announced the following week. This week's an amazing one.
So the company's called Turo, and it is a car sharing marketplace. I've been completely converted to using Turo to hire a car as and when we need it. It's a really good hack for other families if they are having the same issue where they're like, regular family car isn't big enough when you're going on a trip, which is more than like just a night away and you just cannot fit all the stuff in. So you can basically hire any car from local car owners.
Clever.
Yeah, so they've got cars across the US, Canada and Australia. I was so impressed with our experience that I wanted to give the Mumlemma community a chance to also experience it. So Turo have very kindly given one lucky winner £1,000 of credit to use for any trips that they wish.
Wow, that's an amazing prize. Okay, let's see if I know the answer to the question. I'm so bad at this, as you know.
Oh, God.
Go for it.
Okay. In season 1, I went on a date with Fred. During the date, I tried to seductively eat a vegetable. It went horribly wrong in full view of the restaurant and cameras, which happened to air to millions of people. So it was not my finest hour, but oh my God, remembering these memories does make me laugh. Anyway, back to the question. Which vegetable did I have this epic fail with during that date?
I've got no idea. Shock horror. I'm going to say an aubergine.
Ooh, saucy. No comment from me. In order to be in with a chance to win, you must make sure you're following Basement Chats and Turo on Instagram. Like the giveaway post on Basement Chats. Leave the answer to the above question in the comments at Basement Chats. Additional terms and conditions apply. Trip needs to take place within the UK and the winner must have a valid UK driver's licence.
As always, the full T's and C's apply and you can find them in our show notes. The competition closes at midnight on the Monday after this episode is released and you can only enter once, guys. The winner will be picked at random and contacted via DM on the Tuesday. Good luck, everyone. Wow, so there we have it. The first episode of season 3 done. We got some tears. Wasn't expecting that.
I did think that would be emotional for me to talk about it, but I'm really glad I did. It feels good to be back.
Feels really great to be back. I know. Love our deep chats with each other always. Makes me feel good. Guys, we want to hear from you too. Have you got a Mumlemma that you'd like to share or one that we can help you with? If so, stay tuned on Basement Chats for our shout-outs where you can DM us or you can email us at mm@basementchats.com.
Also, check out our YouTube channel for full episode recordings and behind-the-scenes clips. The channel is updated every Sunday. Just search for Mumlemmas. And remember to subscribe, like and comment. Please rate and leave us a review. We want to hear from you.
Please note, we're not experts, so please consult a GP or professional if you want to know more about anything we've spoken about on the show today.
Before we go, one last thank you to the tastiest kombucha around and this season's sponsor, Remedy Kombucha, available at remedydrinks.com/UK.
And of course, we need to thank our team, as none of this would be possible without them. Thanks to audio producer Sarah Cudden of Feast Collective, Leo Hunter, video extraordinaire of Hatch 108 Productions, and Basement Chats for creating this space where we can all have this chat freely. Before we go, here's a snippet of what's coming up on our next episode.
I wasn't breast aware, I wasn't checking my breasts. My hand fell against my chest in the middle of the night and I found the lump.
You don't want them to get freaked out like watching like Bambi or something, but like, you know, the kind of the story of life and yeah, it's
the realities of it.
So I asked each member of the family what makes them happy. And I was like, I'm going to write this down. I'm going to stick it on the kitchen cabinet. And anytime we dip over the next couple of weeks, we're going to pick something off this list and we're going to do it and we're going to be okay.
See you next time on Mumlemmas and more.